Imagine traveling thousands of miles to see literally the most beautiful coastline in the world, and then, you just spend the entire day staring at the taillights of a stalled tour bus.
Oh, yeah, just gripping the steering wheel of your rental car in pure, unadulterated terror.
Exactly. I mean, it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass.
So glad you're here with us.
Today we are doing a deep dive into a destination that is universally on everyone's bucket list, which is the breathtaking UNESCO-listed Amalfi Coast. But we're tailoring this specifically for you, the listener, who wants to actually enjoy that experience without the massive headache of navigating it yourself.
Right, because it really can be a headache.
Oh, completely. We've compiled a phenomenal stack of sources to help you do this. We are breaking down the logistics of the ExcursionPass Amalfi Coast and Sorrento day trip from Naples, and we're going to cross-reference that itinerary with a massive trove of nearly 1,000 TripAdvisor reviews for a highly rated alternative.
Yeah, the Mondo Guide Day Tour's full-day Amalfi Coast experience.
Right. So we are going to get into all of it.
We are essentially stress testing the two most popular ways to outsource the heavy lifting of a coastal Italian vacation. And look, we know you're likely weighing some major doubts right now.
Oh, for sure. We've been there.
Right. You might be wondering if a guided tour feels too restrictive or, rushed. You are probably thinking about how to manage that notorious Italian summer heat. Or maybe you're debating if you should just tough it out and rely on the local public transit to save a little money.
Which is a very common thought process.
Totally. So our mission today is to anticipate all those objections, look really closely at the underlying mechanisms of how these tours actually operate, and hand you the exact blueprint for your own adventure. By the end, it will feel like you've already ridden shotgun along these cliffside roads with us.
Yeah, we are going to make you an expert before you even pack your bags.
Yeah.
But to even begin comparing these itineraries, we have to look at the physical reality of the Amalfi Coast itself. Because the landscape literally dictates every single logistical decision you or a tour company will make.
It really does. You can't fight the geography.
No, you can't. The Amalfi Coast isn't just a beach. It is the southern flank of the Laetare Mountains. And these limestone mountains plunge essentially straight down into the Tyrrhenian Sea.
It's dramatic, incredibly dramatic.
Right, and for centuries, the only way between these fishing villages was by boat or by walking these incredibly steep mule tracks.
And that underlying geology is the root cause of, every traffic jam you hear about. I mean, when they finally carved a road into those cliffs, the famous SS-163 or the Amalfi Drive, they didn't blast out a modern superhighway.
No. Definitely not.
They carved a single narrow ribbon of asphalt that just clings to the rock face. I mean, there are no alternate routes. There are no bypasses.
There aren't even shoulders on the road.
Exactly. It's just one lane in each direction, winding through these completely blind hairpin turns right over sheer drops.
Which is why understanding that infrastructure bottleneck makes the ExcursionPass route from Naples suddenly look very strategic. Let's look at how this option operates as a baseline.
Okay, let's break it down.
So for 96 euros for adults and 87 euros for kids, this is a 7-hour full-day route. But the clever mechanism here is that it doesn't try to drive you all the way from Naples down the coast in a single vehicle.
Right, which would be a huge mistake.
It utilizes a multimodal approach.
Yeah, it connects you via train transport out of the massive urban sprawl of Naples, bringing you down toward the coast, and only then switches you over to an air-conditioned minibus to actually navigate the coastal road itself.
And that switch is crucial, isn't it?
It is a vital piece of the puzzle, because a full-size motor coach simply cannot physically maneuver through the tightest curves of the Amalfi Drive without causing a bottleneck. By downscaling you into a minibus, the tour operator is ensuring they can actually maintain their schedule.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yep.
During those 7 hours, the itinerary hits 4 absolute heavy-hitting locations: Sorrento, Positano, Amalfi, and Ravello. Frankly, that sounds like a race, not a vacation.
It does sound like a lot.
Right. The source material openly admits that one of these stops might be designated as just a quick, quote, photo opportunity, rather than a full visit. If you are a traveler who despises feeling herded, isn't this a glaring red flag?
Well, it certainly reads like one at first glance, but analyzing the underlying strategy of the tour operator reveals why it's structured that way.
Okay, why is that?
They use that slightly ambiguous public copy intentionally to preserve flexibility. They aren't promising equal time in all 4 towns because, frankly, traffic flow on a single-lane cliffside road changes by the hour.
Well, that makes sense. Like a stalled delivery truck in Positano could cost you 40 minutes.
Exactly. The Excursion Pass option represents a pragmatic sampler platter. It's engineered specifically for travelers based in Naples who prioritize seeing the broad geographic scope of the coast in one highly organized, pre-planned sweep.
So you don't have to manage the risky train-to-bus transfer timings yourself.
Right, you're getting the tasting menu. You spend an hour here, an hour there, and you figure out which town resonates with you so you can come back and rent an apartment there on your next trip.
Yeah, it's reconnaissance. But if you are leaning toward this Naples baseline, the booking data reveals a major hurdle you have to plan for. These tours sell out incredibly fast, specifically early in the week.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources show Mondays and Tuesdays are often completely booked. And strangely, Wednesdays and Sundays can be entirely closed for operation. You have to be strategic. You cannot just wake up in Naples on a Wednesday and decide to wing it.
You really can't. And that severe limitation on availability is a direct reflection of the demand for that exact logistical convenience.
Because doing it yourself is just too much.
Right. Navigating out of Naples independently is daunting, so travelers are aggressively booking the option that removes the friction of that first leg of the journey.
That gives us a really great understanding of the broad, Naples-based approach. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's pivot to a deeply reviewed alternative to see what the ground-level sensory experience is actually like.
The Mondo Guide Tour.
Yes, the Mondo Guide Day Tour departs locally from Sorrento, Naples, or Salerno. And the logistics of how they structure their transport are pretty fascinating. It actually reminds me of visiting a major museum.
Oh, a museum. Explain the museum connection.
Well, think about it. If you go to a museum with just a few friends, maybe a group of 6 or 8, you just grab a map and wander around. The Mondo Tour operates the same way. For groups of 6 to 8 people, you're placed in an 8-seater van with just a driver. It's a really intimate setup.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
But if a museum group scales up to, like, 20 people, you suddenly need a dedicated docent to manage the crowd, keep everyone together, and provide context. Mondo does exactly that. If the group size is 9 to 21 people, you are bumped to a 21-seater minibus.
Oh, and they add a guide.
Exactly. They add a dedicated English-speaking guide to manage the entire excursion. You aren't just getting a bigger vehicle, you're getting a human upgrade to manage the larger head count.
What's fascinating here is how that human upgrade dramatically alters the value proposition. The Mondo Guide Tour sits at roughly $115.39 per adult. And when you dig into the nearly 1,000 TripAdvisor reviews, the defining theme isn't even the scenery.
Wait, really? Not the scenery.
I mean, the scenery is great, but the main theme is the utility of the onboard narration. Reviewers like Darano emphasize how the guide, a woman named Marie in her case, provides a comprehensive historical and geographical briefing before the bus ever parks.
Oh, wow. That is huge. Because by the time the doors slide open, you are completely oriented.
Exactly. You know why the town looks the way it does. You know where the main cathedral is. You know which direction the beach is.
So you aren't burning the first 20 minutes of your precious free time staring at Google Maps trying to get your bearings. You literally hit the ground running.
It is all about maximizing the yield of your independent time. The guide acts as like an advanced scout, feeding you the tactical information you need to explore efficiently.
Let's actually walk through what that independent time looks like, town by town.
Yeah.
Because the reviews paint a remarkably vivid picture. It feels like you're there. Your first major stop is Positano, where you get roughly an hour.
And Positano is structurally wild.
It really is. Because it's built directly into a steep ravine facing the sea, the town is essentially vertical. There are very few traditional streets. Instead, you are navigating cascading, narrow pedestrian paths and these seemingly endless sets of stairs.
So many stairs.
Yeah, you'll spend that hour wandering downward toward the water, exploring shops filled with vibrant artisan ceramics and the region's famous lemon products.
Oh, the lemons. The lemons are inescapable, and there's actually a fascinating agricultural reason for it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, the steep terrain forced locals to develop terrace farming centuries ago, which happens to be perfectly suited for growing the Sfusato amalfitano.
The giant lemons.
Right. The massive, thick-skinned lemons that are totally unique to this stretch of coast. That's why limoncello, lemon soaps, and lemon candies are basically the economic lifeblood of the shops you're browsing.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So after an hour of stairs and citrus, you get back into the air-conditioned van and continue along the coastal curves to Amalfi, the namesake town of the entire region.
And the geography changes a bit
It
here.
does. It opens up slightly because Amalfi sits at the mouth of a deeper ravine,
Okay.
offering a small, relatively flat port area. You get about 2 hours here. This wider footprint makes it significantly easier to navigate on foot, which is why it serves as the perfect midday lunch stop.
Right, you have time to sit down, cover the cost of a meal yourself, and really explore.
Yeah, you can check out the iconic Amalfi Cathedral, which completely dominates the main piazza with its massive staircase and that striking striped facade.
Beautiful building. And then following Amalfi, the itinerary takes a sharp vertical turn up to Ravello.
Oh, Ravello is stunning.
Yeah, it really is. You get an hour here, and it offers a complete contrast to the bustling ports. Ravello sits high on a hillside plateau, completely removed from the water.
Which gives it a totally different vibe.
Yeah, because it lacks a beach, it has historically been a retreat for artists and writers. It's defined by its serene atmosphere, its historic villas, and its sweeping panoramic views that let you look down over the Mediterranean rather than, out at it from sea level.
The progression from vertical Positano to bustling Amalfi to serene Ravello sounds perfect on paper. But I want to pull a critique directly from the reviews, just to keep it real.
Sure, let's look at the pushback.
A traveler named Rachel Fritzl noted that while the timing in Amalfi and Ravello felt spot on, she found herself deeply wishing she had an extra 20 to 30 minutes in Positano. So doesn't the rigid schedule of a group tour, where the bus is leaving at a very specific minute with or without you, kind of kill the joy of spontaneous exploration?
Well, it absolutely introduces a rigid boundary to your wandering. There is no denying that. If you stumble upon a hidden cafe in Positano and want to linger over a second espresso, the group tour structure is going to cut that short.
Which can be a bummer.
It can be. But you have to evaluate what you are trading that autonomy for. You are surrendering unlimited free time in a single location to eliminate the mental and physical fatigue of logistics.
Right. You are basically buying peace of mind.
Exactly. You are avoiding the parking nightmare, which on the Amalfi Coast can cost you upwards of €10 an hour, assuming you can even find a spot.
Which is a big assumption.
Huge assumption. You are bypassing the navigation, the driving stress, and the sheer exhaustion of managing the day. The tour optimizes for overall enjoyment across the entire region rather than maximizing time in one specific shop.
Which naturally leads us to the biggest alternative you might be considering. If you are looking at the $115 price tag for Mondo or the €96 for ExcursionPass, you are almost certainly thinking, I'll just save a fortune and take the local CETA bus.
The CETA bus.
Right. CETA is the regional public transit network that covers southern Italy, and their large blue buses run the exact same coastal route between these towns.
They utilize the same physical road, yes.
Yeah.
But the experiential difference between a dedicated tour van and a public transit bus on the Amalfi Drive is monumental.
Monumental is a good word for it. Let's look at a stark warning from reviewer Darren O'Darren. Darren emphatically advises skipping the CETA bus entirely.
Really, just skips it entirely.
Entirely. The reality of public transit here is that you are often packed shoulder to shoulder, standing in the aisle, while a massive bus peters on the edge of a cliff.
That sounds terrifying.
It is. Darren noted that on a congested bank holiday, their Mondo guides' pre-planning and nimble routing saved them from the worst of the gridlock. A local public bus is completely beholden to a fixed route and timeline, without the luxury of a guide attempting to optimize your comfort.
And the physical environment inside the vehicle is arguably just as critical as the traffic outside, particularly when you factor in the Mediterranean climate.
Oh man, the heat. We found a review from a user named Happiness605978 that zeroed in on this exact issue. They warned that the August heat on the coast is just brutal.
It really is unforgiving.
They pointed out that if you're traveling with kids, an air-conditioned minivan isn't a luxury, it is an absolute non-negotiable lifeline. The adults in their party were struggling with the humidity. Trying to survive a crowded, potentially underventilated public transit bus in the peak of the Italian summer is a fast track to heat exhaustion and a miserable family dynamic.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the most profound value of visiting the Mondo Tour isn't just the air conditioning or even the guide's historical facts.
No, what is it?
It is the raw technical skill of the drivers.
Oh, the drivers. Yes, the reviews treat these drivers like absolute rock stars. You see names like Dom, Salvatore, Roberto, and Alessandro mentioned repeatedly, with travelers specifically thanking them for keeping them alive.
Which sounds completely hyperbolic until you understand the mechanics of navigating that road. You have massive tour buses traveling in both directions on a road that was originally designed for horse-drawn carts. When two large vehicles meet on a blind hairpin turn, they often have to fold in their mirrors and squeeze past each other with literally millimeters of clearance.
Millimeters. It's insane.
Darren O specifically described the adrenaline rush of just watching their driver execute these maneuvers.
Meanwhile, you have local teenagers on Vespas darting in and out of the blind spots, completely ignoring the center line.
Oh, they do not care.
Navigating that chaos requires a level of local spatial awareness that a visiting tourist in a rental car simply does not possess. Having Roberto or Dom at the wheel fundamentally shifts your psychological state.
Yes, it really does.
Instead of white-knuckling the armrest and staring at the bumper of the car ahead of you, you can actually look out the window and safely absorb the incredible scenery.
You are paying for the privilege of actually observing the coastline rather than just surviving the drive.
Surviving is the key word. And speaking of observing the coastline, the deep dive into the Q&A section of these TripAdvisor reviews revealed an incredible insider secret that could entirely change your itinerary.
Oh, I love this part. This is a perfect example of a micro experience you might completely miss if you are managing the day yourself.
Exactly. During your 2-hour lunch stop in the town of Amalfi, there is an unadvertised, entirely optional side excursion. You can walk down to the docks and jump on a 50-minute boat ride along the coast for roughly €12. Reviewers like Rachel Fritzl and another traveler, Sarix, highly recommend doing this.
The geometry of the coast makes this a brilliant tactical move. Seeing the towns from the winding road above is spectacular, but viewing them from the water, like looking up at these pastel houses seemingly defying gravity on the limestone cliffs, provides a much more dramatic, commanding perspective.
It's breathtaking, and the logistics of the timeline make it a no-brainer. Because you have 2 hours in Amalfi, committing 50 minutes to a boat ride still leaves you with a full hour and 10 minutes to grab a quick panino, explore the cathedral, and stretch your legs.
That's plenty of time.
Right. For an extra €12, you're essentially getting a full land tour and a comprehensive sea tour seamlessly rolled into a single afternoon.
Which brings up the final logistical hurdle, which is flexibility. Because no matter how perfectly you engineer your itinerary, travel is unpredictable.
Oh, always. Flights change, travelers get fatigued, or the weather turns.
Luckily, both of these options have surprisingly forgiving cancellation policies, which significantly lowers the risk of booking ahead. If you lock in the Mondo Guide Tour, they require a 24-hour notice for a complete refund.
That is very generous.
And the ExcursionPass option provides identical flexibility, allowing free cancellation up to 1 day before your scheduled date.
Which is huge, given our earlier discovery that the ExcursionPass route frequently sells out on Mondays and Tuesdays. This policy allows you to aggressively secure your spot weeks in advance without permanently locking up your funds until the very last minute.
It takes all the pressure off.
So what does this all mean? For you, the listener, the overriding takeaway is that the Amalfi Coast is a destination best consumed when you let go of the reins. Whether you opt for the macro level, train-to-minibus strategy of the ExcursionPass out of Naples, or the highly detailed Docent-style Mondo tour from Sorrento, the fundamentals of a successful trip remain the same.
You must respect the geography.
Yes, by prioritizing air conditioning and relying on the technical expertise of local drivers. You save your physical and mental energy by letting the guides handle the navigation.
Because you want your cognitive bandwidth entirely focused on tasting those Sfizzato Amalfitano lemons, marveling at the architecture of the Amalfi Cathedral, and just absorbing the panoramic silence of Ravello.
Exactly. Leave the millimeter clearance cliffside, driving to Salvatore and Dom.
Which really raises an important question to consider as you finalize your plans.
What's that?
Well, we culturally romanticize the idea of rugged, independent travel. We have this belief that struggling with public transit maps and fighting for parking somehow makes an experience more authentic. But if removing the brutal friction of local logistics allows you to be entirely peacefully present in one of the most beautiful environments on Earth, how much of our travel anxiety is simply a stubborn refusal to let someone else take the wheel?
Wow. That is a phenomenal piece of travel psychology to chew on while you pack your bags. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive on the travel podcast by ExcursionPass.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
We hope we've cleared up the muddy waters of Italian coastal logistics and put you confidently in the passenger seat. Keep exploring, stay cool in that Mediterranean sun, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.